Weird beginning.
Okay.
I must have put it in slow motion.
I kind of like the remix.
Am I the only one freaked out by the intro? Denny's, what the shit happened? Why does it sound like Lucifer's doing our theme song?
You know, I think I clicked it twice, which would have put it in slow motion.
That was horrifying. Oh my God.
So I run over here, and I can't hear it until I put my headphones on.
Well, welcome, weirdos. Thank you guys for joining us. We have the full gang. The band is back together. Everyone make some noise. Yeah. Listen to our studio audience. We have a studio audience of one. Let's hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
I like it.
There we go.
Vicky's daughter, Lindsley's out there.
Don't forget about Chewy.
What's that, Beckett? Talk in the microphone, Beckett.
Don't forget about Chewy.
There you go. We gotta hear that pretty voice. Gotta see that pretty face. Now, everybody listening right now, we are trying to go a little bit more visual here with the Weird and Whatever podcast. Not to say that we're not going to be doing the regular podcast. We're going to be still uploading them. Did we turn off the Mountain Dew fridge?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. All right. There's a little quirk still about my house. We're doing live from my living room. If we don't take out the Mountain Dew fridge, you can hear.
It's like a ringing noise.
Vicky, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing it.
Keep doing it.
Beckett, we haven't talked to you in a good month or two. Never a month.
It's been a minute.
Why did you stand us up last week?
Oh, man, I got my wires crossed. We were doing Thursday. I thought it was 6, and then you text me. I got busy with work. It's my mistake. I feel bad.
Oh, Beckett. And Mr. Denny's, the peaceful man of the group.
Oh, yes. What would you like to know, Bird?
Is that a new sweater?
Yeah, get out of here.
He's had that sweater for 5 years.
What it is everywhere we work is freezing at all times.
So, Mr. Beckett's sitting on our new backdrop. It's alien backdrop.
It's out of this world.
It is very, very good, Beckett.
I think it pops.
Let's jump right into this stuff, okay? Let's jump right into it. Now, a lot of people did not get to hear this on the KVJ show today. We played it kind of early. You weren't here last week, Beckett. We talked about that voicemail I had with Aunt Ann.
Okay.
Do you remember what I was talking about? Did we talk?
Yeah.
I talked to you about that? Okay. There's been so many side podcasts. I can't remember what's what anymore. But my Aunt Ann had passed away, and if you didn't know that, she had left me a voicemail that I did not know she had left me until about 2 or 3 days after her passing. So we played it live today on the KVJ show. I had never heard it before. We rocked it completely live. We're going to play it for y'all because I had a lot of people email me today. Say, I missed it. I wanted to hear it. Here we go.
Hey, JJ, it's Annie. Just wanted to touch base with you. See how you're doing, how you're feeling. Give me a call when you get a chance. Love you.
So that was the last voicemail I did not hear from my Aunt Ann. And I got to tell you, that's a special voicemail, Vicky, because she was actually sick. I didn't realize how sick she was. She's calling on me to see how I'm doing because I wasn't feeling well.
Right. You could definitely hear the low energy and that she was definitely not feeling well in that.
For sure. But I'm really glad that I have that. Do you guys have any kind of photos, audio, video, all that stuff of your loved ones that they're living right now that you may not have that much of? Beckett, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I haven't really thought about it, but now that you bring it up, it makes me want to be more diligent to have those things. You know, when it's obviously apples and oranges, but when I lost my dog a few months ago, I was so happy that I had so much on my phone. You know, my dad had some video and whatever, and I think if you have anyone that's touched your life, you know, whether it's an animal or a human being, family member, whatever, it's nice to have those things. And I think, you know, with technology, those kind of things are more readily available.
Well, I mean, if you grew up, I mean, we're all a little bit older. So if you're under the age of 25, you kind of grew up with technology. Your whole life has been recording and doing this and doing that. It's not weird.
Right.
But if you're 30 years or older, you didn't always grow up with technology. So you might not necessarily be mentally ready to or be apt to be ready to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, people in their 50s, I don't know if they're thinking about recording their loved ones.
Right.
Am I off on that?
Right. No, I mean, I don't think about it sometimes. I mean, thank goodness I have, children that grab it. And we do have quite a few of kind of little funny videos of my mom being my mom.
And don't you love that?
Oh, yeah. I'm glad that we really have those and to be able to save memories because even growing up, my parents didn't take pictures. I mean, there's very few even pictures of us growing up. Certainly no video camera whatsoever. There's more pictures of me in my neighbor's photo album than there is on our home one.
Why do you think that is, though?
Well, my mom, when it came to pictures and things like that, they actually depressed her to go back and look at the past and things that were no longer, going on. Obviously, the people across the street, though, I spent a lot of time there, so I'm in all their family albums. But my mom just didn't take pictures.
Was there a neighborhood crush that Vicky had? Was there a guy in town, pretty hot? He had those 80 abs going. Was there someone in the neighborhood that you liked?
Oh, well, that I actually had, or...
Oh, Vicky, okay, I like
Alrighty.
it.
Just a conquest.
Your daughter is in the other room.
No, had as like a boyfriend, not
gotcha.
all kinds of hats.
Sorry, you're doing a show with three perverts.
Actually, my very first boyfriend was from the neighborhood.
I knew it.
He was from the neighborhood, but the one that...
His name was his name... What did it start with?
A J.
You totally dated Jimmy.
Jeremy.
No, but Jimmy was one of my sister's first boyfriends.
I knew it, Vicky.
You feel it.
Mine was Jack.
Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, the jokes.
But yes, there were these guys that lived on the other street. Their last name was Tardonia, and everybody loved the Tardonia boys.
Come on.
I mean, with a name like
Who
that.
doesn't? They were rad lovers.
Yeah. Plus, their dad on Halloween, he'd forget to buy candy, so he'd give us like cash
Oh, jeez.
if you showed up.
Really?
They're just a
yeah,
cool
he handed out
family.
money.
They were rich, huh?
They were okay.
Southern
they were well
Italian mafia right there.
Just make sure you're talking to that microphone, Beckett.
You.
Yeah. If you were here last week, you would have gone over the tutorial. I'm totally just
We did a whole crash course.
Some people want to know, Beckett, about you. What's going on with that snake do? You were talking about doing the snake do thing?
Snake do.
Yeah, or something like that. There was a couple weeks ago. I brought up snake do to you, and you didn't do it.
What's snake do?
Hiss, hiss.
You're so pumped. You're so pumped you got him.
I got
He's
him.
been getting everybody with
I
that.
got him. Yes. What does a snake do? Hiss.
He loves it.
I got Kevin on the air, which I was pretty shocked.
Oh, you were
about
so
that.
pumped.
I told Dennis before. I go, this could go terribly wrong. This could be like, what? Huh? What?
There was a contingency plan.
What's a snake do? Hiss.
In elementary school, we used to do dick for.
Yes.
You got a dick fur on your.
Yeah.
What's a dick fur? What was the other one? Oh, I'm gonna try to get I'm gonna try to get Kevin and Virginia tomorrow because they don't listen to this.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, oh man, this guy kicked me right in my henway. He kicked me right in my henway. What's a henway? About 3 pounds. Do I get Kevin tomorrow?
You might.
Is henway? Is that an old one?
That's an old
You
one.
knew that one?
That's a really old one.
Beckett, did you know it?
I haven't heard that one.
Lindsley, did you know that one? What's a henway? Okay.
Nah.
All right.
It's old.
All right, I gotta write that down. Don't let me forget that. Name.
All right, jotted.
I think it might be time for a little bit of Denny's Random Facts.
I love it. Bum, bum, bum. All right, let's see here. So have you?
I'm sorry not to interrupt you, but as always, Vicky, our educator, she will be grading each one of Denny's factoids, whether it's good or bad. And you know what, Vicky, give him be a little harsh.
Okay, I know. You want me to be a little harder than I usually
You got to
am.
be a little bit harder.
All right. Romanian sewer workers accidentally discovered a cave which was sealed for 5.5 million years. The mobile cave is filled with evolutionary distinct exotic creatures, including albino crabs, worms, and none of them live off of sunlight or eating anything, vegetation or plant tissues. Their bodies have adapted to feed off of sulfur-producing bacteria. It's a place where there is no sunlight, and they stumbled upon it and to get into it is pretty crazy. You have to go underwater. Oh, am I losing you? On this one, Brandon?
What are you talking? I haven't done anything.
All right. Let's see what Vicky thinks.
I'm not.
How did they know it was that old?
They dated the door. They had to break open a door, and then when you go in, it's it said like 60-kilometer drop down. You had to rappel down, and then you had to swim underwater through a series of 3 caverns. And at the end of it was you can't breathe the air there because it's all poisonous gases. And these creatures, it's the only spot where these creatures have evolved to live and feed off of essentially poison, sulfur. It's crazy. And they were wondering if it's an underground cavern. They were wondering if the radiation from Chernobyl had seeped into it and caused this to occur, but it isn't. It's from an underwater aquifer, which so I guess a lot of the cave dwelling creatures, I did a lot of research on this, they feed off of the stalactites and stalagmites, the water that drips down, and that's how they get fresh water from the surface in caverns. And this place does not have them. In fact, they're opposite. They only come from the bottom up.
All right, Vicky. Pretty lengthy.
Pretty lengthy, but
interesting. And as a teacher, this is a child who did his own science fair project because he's able to talk about it. It wasn't his father doing it or his parents, so I got to give him extra points for that. I got to give him an A+ for that, for the presentation too.
Okay.
I get it. That one was long. I get it. All the rest are more concise.
But you sucked us in.
I couldn't believe they found this thing.
You sucked us, Denny's.
It's crazy. Yes. Well, so they also on Netflix, one of the it's the Planet Earth investigates this cave. Only a handful of people, less people have been in this cave than have gone to the moon. It's pretty crazy. Let's see here. Costco. If you go to Costco.com for $5,000, you can buy a doomsday food kit. The food kit will get your family through 1 year of the apocalypse. The kit is designed as 2 pallets of boxes that weigh 1,800 pounds. They keep neighbors in the dark, too, because they deliver the packages discreetly, and the packages expire in 30 years. Are you buying or selling? You can go to Costco.com right now and buy it.
I'm not going to buy it because I'm not as crazy as a lot of people are about the doomsday thing, but I will say this. I've got one guy and another girl in my life, personal life, where the guy, very good friend, he took out all of the money in his bank and he bought land out into the woods of Utah or the prairies of Utah, whatever is desolate in Utah, and he feels like it's all going to go down. The banks are going to crash.
Yeah.
People are going to be killing each other in his lifetime, our lifetime. Do you guys foresee that, or there's no shit? No shit in a way?
I'm afraid.
No shit in hell? No way in shit that's going to happen.
Oh, it's 100% possible.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
My armpits are popping with on the KVJ TV.
Or the comments going off about it.
Oh, my gosh. My armpits are so wet. Vicky, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, is it possible? Absolutely. Would I want to be one of the survivors? I don't think so.
So if it was all going down, the apocalypse, you do not want to survive. Even if you could survive after, rebuild. Maybe some friends are alive. Bobby Joe, who's on my ass for spelling your name wrong on social media.
I know. Oh, you saw that. Yes.
I see everything, Vicky. I see all of the hate.
No, I mean, if everybody I know is gone and I have to do all that to rebuild society, I'm good on the other side.
Beckett, nuclear war's coming. You can survive. It's going to be rough. We're talking no hot girls for you for at least a year.
I can wait a year.
And your hair gets messed up, too.
Oh, yeah. No, you're from the nuclear blast, there's a big bald streak right down the middle. You have the reverse mohawk.
I think I'd go 12 monkeys and just go like shaved head and just get after it. Go underground with the guy in Utah. I actually think it'd be a fun challenge just to go. I mean, $1,800 on food for the whole year. That's a deal.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think? Don't you think? I feel like someone, even if the Armageddon doesn't come, just go,
That ain't-
It's
that-
$5,000.
That ain't Whole Food prices.
Right, exactly.
That's
Costco
Costco prices.
Yeah, that's Costco prices.
Everything in bulk, baby.
Maybe we get sponsored by him and we do a whole year
Try to
worth
live
of eating.
Hey, Costco, if you're listening, we'd love the sponsorship. All right, Vicky, you want to do we have a couple more random facts?
Oh, yeah. Are you guys playing my off the stage music?
Absolutely not, Dennis.
Just making sure.
I just, your first one was so long, I thought it was 4 facts.
Got you. I apologize. Are you guys taking or leaving this? In Japan, it's giving its elderly population discounts on ramen if they turn in their driver's licenses at a certain age. So for the rest of their lives, they get a discount on ramen.
I love it.
Dude,
I think it's awesome.
It's an incentive.
Yeah.
They actually do a test when you get to a certain age over there to test you to see if you are still capable of driving.
We need that here.
Yes,
And
desperately.
well, what's cool is if you're not, they offer you from that point forth discount on transportation, public transportation, on buses and taxis. It's kind of like a good incentive.
Yeah, what a great deal.
Yeah.
How do test takers get to the testing center?
What do you mean?
They walk, Beckett.
They
Come
gotta
on.
drive. They gotta drive their car.
They
right?
gotta
Yeah,
walk.
but at that point they haven't been tested yet.
They got a Tom
So
and
they're good.
they got a Tom and Jerry it. Has anybody heard that term before? Tom and Jerry it? No? My brother would always use that term, and I never knew what it meant. And he always told me, hey, man, that means you have to walk to your destination. I don't know if that's real. It's another one of those Pennington false factoids.
Well, it's interesting because there's certain things like that I was thinking like, oh, I've heard of, but you don't know what's PC anymore. I don't know exactly what you're allowed to say and not allowed to say anymore.
Beckett,
Yeah.
every single day I get a new fucking email from somebody that says, you can't say that.
Like-
And we're talking about shit that's like, pass me the ketchup. You can't say ketchup anymore. That's so disrespectful to tomatoes.
Yeah. Well, like there's a certain way, like there's a certain saying in terms of something, how something's rigged, right? Like, and I don't know what that even means, but if that has any kind of racist or any kind of politically incorrect thing behind it, or when someone is half African American, half Caucasian. Like there were certain ways you said, I didn't know mulatto. Is that a bad word?
Yes.
It is a bad word.
Well, I have been told it has been. Vicky, do you know the answer to this?
Well, my children are half black and half white.
Well, then, guess what? We have an expert
So
here.
what would be someone corrected me and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was incorrect.
Okay, so Vicky, please weigh in on this.
I actually don't refer to my children by any term. I mean, when they were little, I used to, make a little joke about them being little baby brown sugars. But I don't, I think, Lindsley, what has anybody ever called you? Well, yeah, besides
Hispanic.
the fact they think you're Hispanic, yeah.
People
My
think
older
I'm-
son, they think he's Hispanic too.
People sometimes think I'm Hispanic too. People
Me
will come up
too.
to me and start speaking Spanish to me out of the blue. I was at Walmart. I swear to you, I was at Walmart and this guy comes up to me and starts speaking to me in Spanish. And he was bilingual. And I said, I don't speak Spanish. Oh, you don't speak Spanish? Like, no, I do not. Yeah.
My older son gets that all the time.
See, I had the opposite thing happen to me. If I speak to someone in Spanish, they answer me in English. Like,
Oh yeah. No, you look like you are not.
Yeah.
I was in Argentina and I was taking a Spanish class and I would know something was conjugated, said perfectly. And the pharmacist would be like, "Oh yeah, it's over there."
There's things in this world where people will say something and they may not know if there's been an update as far as being offensive
Yeah.
or not. And I think when someone does not mean to be offensive, I'm a big fan. This is just me personally. I'm a big fan of considering what's the source and where it's coming from.
The intent.
Are they trying to be malicious? Are they trying to be nasty? Are they being ignorant? And ignorant, I think, a lot of times is a thing where people get offended by being called ignorant. But ignorant actually is just someone who does not know about
Yeah.
a subject and starts spouting off, which every human on this planet is ignorant. We're all ignorant. I'm ignorant. I mean, I get called out on shit. I use the term made on the air on KVJ. And I got three emails, not a lot, but I got 3 emails. Jay Bird, that term is outdated. It suppresses people. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck? I had no idea about made. Nobody told me. I didn't get the book on that. So yeah, I think you can be offensive, but you're also not a dick.
Right.
Right.
Vicky, thoughts?
Yeah, and it's hard to watch the person struggle to kind of come up with the word.
Yes.
I would say more than often someone has referred to my kids as being mixed.
Okay. Is that
And-
offensive to you?
No.
But everyone,
Why is that not
But
offensive
it takes
to you?
it takes a lot to offend me, period.
But there would be somebody on like Yahoo News that would have a story that would get a lot of likes
Right.
and shares if somebody called their child mixed.
Right.
And they, raised a big deal about it. It would get attention. It
Yeah.
would.
The only one that bothers me is when people mix up biracial and interracial. My children are not interracial. They're biracial. They come from 2 races.
Yes.
So that's one of my things when the difference between ignorant or whatever, that's the one that bothers me. But it's like little children, they'll see the pictures of my family behind my desk and they'll be like, those are your, and they can't quite figure out how to say, how did they end up that color? They don't quite know how to verbalize it, but it doesn't offend me.
Sure.
At all.
And keep in mind, too, there's a spectrum of what offends people. Some people, you can actually have 10 kids raised in one house, and one kid will be offended by everything, and the other kid will be offensive.
Yeah, you're right.
and
You're
offend
right.
everybody.
Right.
In the same window.
But I do think we are living in a weird time where it's the gotcha moment. As soon as somebody makes a mistake, and they may not have meant it.
Pounce.
Fuck you. You're a terrible person. You're fired. Take it. Not only bring him down or her down, bring down their family. We gotta be a little flexible about things. Let's bring people together.
Yep.
And let's stop separating. Denny's.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like all the conversation sparked off of one of the Denny's random facts.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point.
Denny's.
I've just been so good at it.
You know what, Denny's? Give us one more because you're getting people talking.
Oh, yeah. Well, this one's more of a fun fact just for everyone. Once a year in parts of England, flying ants migrate by floating in the air. The problem is seagulls catch them and eat them, but the ants, when they die, produce a formic acid that causes the seagulls to become drunk. So once a year in England, seagulls fly into cars and buildings and people just have to deal with it until it stops.
Wow.
What do you guys think of that?
That's depressing.
Drunk seagulls.
Okay, I mean, it depends on are the seagulls on spring break or are they getting off of a breakup? Depressing, you say? I say awesome.
They're partying.
If they're having a good time
It probably is
doing,
around spring break
little
when
bird
they're
karaoke, I say,
They're partying it up.
get fucked up, birds.
So there you
Well,
go.
Dennis, good job. Vicky, grade?
The last one,
Yeah,
a B-ish.
Visual, I get it.
Yeah.
So I know we got some animal lovers here on the podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a story that just tickled my heart. Now, there's this guy. He's this big, gruff, hillbilly-looking guy. He seems like a pretty cool dude. I believe he's a military man, just like a country guy. Burly. He looks manly. And he loves to save animals that are hurt, kind of, rescues. And there's been this hummingbird for the last 4 years that's been coming to his house. The hummingbird hurt its wing, and he performed his own little surgery on the hummingbird. And every single year at the same time, this hummingbird comes up to him, pecks him on the head, and then perches on his hand after he saved him. Here's a little bit of the hummingbird audio. Do you have that, Denny?
Is this the diamond cat?
No,
Diamond, the missing cat?
it's not. It'd be the other one, the hummingbird.
Ooh, I don't have that in the list.
It's alarming.
I have the missing cat.
That sucks. Okay, well, anyway, this guy with the hummingbird, he so what ended up happening is about 2 weeks. Every single week, the hummingbird comes up, perches on his hand. This last year, the hummingbird didn't show up. He was about 2 weeks late, and the guy was getting worried. He's like, "Oh my gosh, the hummingbird died." He's sitting on his porch. He feels a peck on his head. Starts to peck on his head, and then the hummingbird just perches in his hand. The hummingbird knows that he saved his life. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, that's really
amazing.
cool.
Can't believe it on that fucking clip.
Dude,
Such
I'm
a
looking.
good
I
fucking
don't
clip.
see
Gosh.
it.
That's why we said one of the podcasts we were talking about is superpower. It was an either one or but talking to animals or being
Oh,
able to
yeah.
communicate with the animals would be by far, in my opinion, the coolest thing ever.
Well, we had the question today on the KVJ
Would you
show.
rather?
Would you rather have the ability to control animals or control all electronics? I went with electronics only because you can really kind of turn the tide for yourself and your agenda.
Yeah.
Vicky,
I wouldn't want to control animals.
that's why I decided
yeah,
to
the
go.
word
Yeah.
control is what loses me.
I didn't like going in there and controlling the animal. I was
Yeah.
completely with you on that.
What if talk to animals or talk to computers?
Talk to animals, definitely.
Animals, yeah.
Animals. Me
Animals for
talking to
sure.
a raccoon or one of my fucking rats.
Computers like, how are you doing?
One of the rats in my wall, Beckett. Hey, get out of here, rat.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Jaybird.
Do you know how much grief you would get if you could hear animals speaking to you?
Oh my god.
Who wants it?
If Chewy, my dog, could talk, Beckett, he'd be telling you a lot of weird shit about me.
Yeah, if you were the medium between animals and humans, you have a lot of pissed off animals.
Vicky, we kind of had a bit of a scathing email sent to us. Are you ready to handle it?
Sure.
Ooh.
All right. I want to call out Jason and Vicky. For 2 weeks now, Jay Bird has been going on and on about how he has these psychic abilities all of a sudden. Then when somebody asks both Jay Bird and Vicky, how does one go about getting such abilities? Their answers suck. I mean, really, really suck. You guys say, go out in nature and meditate. Or meditate about, spiritual stuff. Meditate about what? By the way, Vicky, I'm the one that said that. Am I supposed, this is the email again. Am I supposed to meditate on how to gain psychic powers? Again, I don't understand what you're telling me. Bird says he goes out into nature and meditates and gets all of the negativity energy out. So that's all you do, Jaybird? Vicky, it does spell Vicky, comma. Vicky, also, you said to try out your own abilities on people so you can hone your craft. Okay. So all I have to do is ask people questions and try to guess what they're feeling? You guys are too vague with all that shit. I want to become a psychic, but I'm getting to the point where I want advice and you guys aren't providing it. I'm calling bullshit on both of you. You said everyone has psychic abilities. If I really do have psychic abilities, then what the hell should I do to become a psychic? Please be specific this time. It's not that hard, guys. Allison from Boca.
Oh, okay. Well, it's exactly what I said. You have to practice. If you are picking up messages and you're trying to get messages for human beings, you have to practice on human beings.
But I think what Allison from Boca is saying is, okay, Vicky, that's all great, but I want specifics. What do I need to do to everyday train to become a psychic? Give me a top 3. And I did edit her
okay,
email
top
down.
3 if she wants to practice.
Yes.
She wants to practice. She
For anybody listening right now that want to be a psychic.
Here's one of the easiest things you can do to practice. You have someone you know bring pictures of people they know so that they have to have enough knowledge about that person to know whether you have hit on something or not.
Now, are you practicing with the pictures? Are you asking questions?
Yes. No. You just have them bring the pictures. And then whoever is practicing their ability, they just start saying the first thing, whatever they observe about the picture, what they observe about the person, whatever pops into their head.
Okay, question.
And they have to vocalize it. Don't just keep it inside. The more that you talk about your impressions and the more you talk about what you hear and see and feel, the more it's going to open you up.
Let's say you have somebody who's been doing it for 3 years and they are consistently wrong.
Then that is not their gift. I mean, it's just not.
Shittiest
But there's
ever.
other gifts. There are truly other gifts, and that may not be their forte. I happen to be pretty good when it comes to pictures. That's just one of my fortes. But I'm not good. Like if people ask me for names, I 99% of the time do not get a name.
Would you equate it to like singers? Some singers can sing in a low register, but if you ask them to sing high, that's just not in their wheelhouse.
Right.
Everyone's got their own wheelhouse.
Right. And the thing is, we all have the basic ability. But some of us, like I said last week, I can learn to play the clarinet and so can you. But one of us has more musical ability than the other one. So one of us is going to sound better no matter how many lessons. And also remember that psychic ability and things like that, it's not a science. If it were a science, I could write a textbook on it and I could give you step-by-step instructions how to improve yourself. It's not a science.
I can tell you this, Vicky. If you write a textbook, I'm buying it.
Yeah.
Amen?
Amen.
Is there any?
But remember, I said that I do want to do a meetup, and she's more than happy to come to the meetup. And, if she wants to see some of the things that we do, it's all about exercises. And what works for me may not work for somebody else, but I can let people know what I did.
Okay, so you did pictures. All right, what else?
Pictures, objects.
Same kind of concept?
Same concept. You hold the object, you see whatever comes into your head.
Okay, so for example, Beckett brings something from his grandfather.
Right.
You've talked on the podcast about your connection. He brings, let's say, his grandfather's hat. He comes to Denny's, who's working on his abilities. What does Denny's, in practical terms, do to Beckett?
In practical terms, I mean, he's just going to he's going to hold the hat and see whatever pops into his mind. Some people see things visually. Some people hear voices. Some people just get impressions that aren't that they may see an object, a random object or something. It's not a science. That's why it's so difficult. There are pointers you can give to people, but like I said, I can't exactly write a textbook on it.
Is there anything in like techniques like sleep deprivation or anything in pharmacology that can help you cheat or accelerate that? Like, ayahuasca or some
Good call. But do you want to cheat though, Vicky?
No,
You want to clear conscience, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and when you talk about cheating, that's why I'm so particular about not reading someone that I know something about, because I want it to be 100% straight from spirit, not something that's in the back of my mind that I know about them and then all of a sudden I pull it out and talk about it.
Last week, you and your daughter, Lindsley, had felt a presence in this place.
Right.
Do you feel it today?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Really? So last week, it was all up in your face, all up in
Yep.
your daughter's face. Lindsley, do you feel it?
Nope.
So explain that to me.
It just happened to be present. Whoever it was present, wanted its presence known.
Does that mean that they're gone, or does that mean they're just kind of laying low right now?
They could be laying low. They could be someplace, in upstairs or something like
maybe
that.
Okay.
Maybe it was me in spirit.
The appearance of Beckett.
Well, funny enough, Beckett, you're making a joke, but that's a great question. Can you get a ghost from somebody who's alive?
You can have what we call like a place memory from someone who was alive.
What does that mean, Vicky?
Let's just say Beckett hung out here like all the time, but he wasn't here, and his routine was to walk back and forth right here behind us. His energy is left here, and there's a chance that if the conditions are right, I'm gonna still feel him walking back and forth back here.
So we leave a energy footprint wherever we
Yes.
go?
Yeah, especially
all
certain
do.
places. Certain places where you have high concentrations of limestone and other things in the earth, it takes more of a video.
Instead of limestone, okay, you say things of the earth, but what about emotion? Well, let's say Beckett's pacing back here, back and forth. And this is a place where Beckett just, emotionally let it all hang out. He's talking to me about the Bachelorette chicks. He's talking to me about his hair. He really he emotionally just poops out everything.
Right. Then he's left a huge impression on the place.
I got another thing to blow your mind. I was group texting everyone. And I actually, the more I am aware of it, the more I listen to it, I get more on par with Denny's in terms of energy and your wavelength and, what realm are you participating on and things like that. If I'm messaging the whole group, and there's 5-6 people on the group text message, then my stream of consciousness is actually coming through in waves.
Yeah.
To literally all 6 people in this room. I mean, it's kind of a Pass the J conversation, but if you think about it, that is some version of my energy or consciousness being in the room, right?
Digitally.
Ladies and gentlemen, hashtag Beckett bomb. Are you kind of restraining your laugh a little bit? I want a good Beckett laugh. I feel like you're holding back a little bit.
It'll come. I'm just getting used to the new equipment.
You're not gonna blow out the microphone if you give us a full-on Beckett laugh. I mean,
Shouldn't we tested it a bunch?
I'm a big fan of the Beckett laugh.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Good stuff. I love it.
and some people actually do believe in the meditation part. I don't meditate.
Why don't you meditate? Because I do
don't
feel like.
meditate.
So are you one of those people that says, I can't meditate, I can't just get there? Or do you just don't do it, but you also respect the practice of meditation?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Lindsley started meditating.
Lindsley, you're meditating? How many weeks?
But, yeah.
How many hours? I mean, what, an hour ago?
No, you've done it 3 or 4 times so far?
Yeah, but I just now figured out how to actually do it correctly.
Yeah, so I mean, meditation's one of those things where it's like working out in the gym. There's a process.
Yeah.
There is a failure, run where you are trying to meditate and get peaceful, and you just can't. I mean, everybody they can't meditate on the first round. You would be a prodigy of meditation. You're gonna suck at meditation, and you could also suck at meditation up until about 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think sometimes people need to taste something or see something, and sometimes literally, sometimes from a metaphor, to pursue it and to appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for example, I don't know, a good analogy it would be, but you need to, like when you're swimming a golf club, like you'll have like some golf club aid that helps, like, oh, don't break this plane. Like it's a PVC pipe and you feel it, right? And you're like, oh, that makes sense. I never really believed in a runner's high, which a lot of people compare that to a form of meditation, until I was forced to do it. And I felt it and I was like, oh my God, like that almost felt like a meditative state. Like I was on mile 2 or 3. I had pains in my side. I was like, this sucks. And then I just got that runner's high and looked down on my watch. I was like, oh my God, I'm mile 7.
Look
You
at
know?
that, Becca talking about health, that health agenda. No, but to back you up though, so I there's been times in my life where I'm a big runner and then I stop. And it's been up and down my entire life. And I'm usually a long distance runner. So if I'm trying to get in shape, I'll run 3 to 5 miles. And I don't talk about it that much on the KVJ show because Kevin's the health nut. But when I am running, I don't get the runner's high when I'm actually running. But when I sit down, I feel sick. And that sick is finally gone. And my heart rate starts to kind of come down.
Yep.
And everything's so vibrant.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, man, that is a spiritual feel. I never have that feeling unless I do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes running to do it, and people don't want to run. But there's something there. There's a chemical that happens to me personally.
Totally.
When I am exerting myself and then I'm coming down and kind of reflecting on. It's so weird. Exercise, all that stuff, it makes me think deeply.
Totally.
Do you get that when you
Yeah.
exercise, Becca? Do you
Totally.
think deeply when you're exercising?
Some of my best ideas. That's why I say people go for a walk when they gotta, when they need to think things out. I mean, humans have been running for millennia, right?
Yeah.
And they've been going forward, and it's something that we have now removed ourselves largely, unless you're a runner.
Millenni.
Yeah. I think that's a word.
It's a fancy word. It's a Palm Beach word.
That's a Scrabble winner.
But it's something that human beings, being in nature, running, whether it's for food or to escape a predator, it's something we've been doing forever. And now we just, in the last couple hundred years, unless you're a runner, just have cut that out of our life. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, I don't like running, Denny's. I don't like it, but I do like the after effects of it. When's the last time you ran, Denny's?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, actually, it's probably only been it's 10 years maybe since I ran last. But
So let me ask you, Denny's, other than weed, because I get weed can give you a euphoric state, but I'm talking more about natural things. What are things that bring you peace where it kind of smacks you in the brain and you go, oh man, I feel something different than I normally do going through the grind.
I think succeeding gives you that feeling as well. If you're preparing for something big and then you succeed at it, that gives you a high.
Elaborate.
Well, so like you say, like we have a remote coming up and there's a lot of moving parts and we get it all together and it's successful. That definitely gives you a high.
And for people who don't know what a remote is, what is that?
So if you guys are doing an appearance and there's music or any sort of production or team work involved where we have to put together something or you guys are putting on some sort of act, then there takes a little preparation.
You get a euphoric feeling from that?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's very cool. I love that. It's great. Yeah, I
Pretty
totally,
much anything, like even as down to as little as putting the studio together. I mean, it takes a lot of. It was pre-planning and then it was post-production.
Yeah, just so you guys know, listening and you guys here at the table, the studio. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and when I went out to Oregon, for some reason, in December of 2018, I went out to Oregon. I was only supposed to go out there for 4 days, and I ended up staying out there for about 2 weeks, and I feel like I did have a spiritual experience. It's weird. There wasn't anything banging me over the head saying do this or do that, but I just left there saying build a studio at your place so you have control of everything. And it is weird when you travel. Traveling does something to the mind. You travel a lot, Beckett.
Yeah, it sifts the mind, right? Because you get in your routine and it takes you out of your familiar environment. And it tends to, not to sound cheesy, it gives you different perspectives.
It does.
Right?
It
You get
does.
to talk to other cultures, you get to experience different sights, smell different air, and interact with different kinds of people. And you're out of like, oh, I need to go to work every day and show a horse farm and do this and clean my room and do my normal routine. And it actually takes you out of that loop and actually helps you look at things. And I think that's powerful.
Vicky, when you travel, do you tend to think deeper?
Yeah, and I like to. I am proud that my kids are pretty well traveled, And I can thank my mom for that.
How many kids do you have?
3.
3 kids. Okay.
Yeah. And especially my 2 younger ones. 'Cause-
Leslie, yeah. Woo-hoo, yeah. Where's our audience at?
But I'm glad that we went on so many trips with my mom.
Yeah.
And we have, those are where we do have pictures, because every time we went someplace where they took the professional picture, we have those. And you get to see parts of the country that you're like, wow, people live like this. And sometimes you go places and you're like, wow, I'm glad I don't live like this.
Yeah.
And other times you're just standing there. I remember when we went to the Grand Canyon, Lindsay's like, is this even real? Is this like, are you sure this isn't like some screenshot or something? Because you're standing there and it's so massive and you're looking down at something. You're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Spend 5 days with someone, or travel like at home here in West Palm Beach, or travel with someone for 5 days and see how different your relationship comes out as a result of traveling with someone for 5 days, and how you get to know that people and the bond that forms, rather than you just saying, oh, let's kick it downtown for 5 days. It's a totally different relationship in my experience that you'll come outside with.
The cool thing I love about traveling, and I do not travel that much, but when I do, what it does for me, it knocks me out of autopilot. And I feel like all of us, all humans, we get in a trend of autopilot. And I mean, I can openly admit that I am coming off an autopilot kind of. 2018 was an autopilot for me. I was going through some depression, and I think we all go through depression. Beckett, depression ever in your life?
Yeah. I think 2018 was a little autopilot for me too.
Yeah, I was on autopilot, and I was kind of depressed about stuff. And honestly, sometimes you can be depressed about stuff and not even know why. I think maybe some of it is my age. I think when you get to a certain age, you start to analyze things. And I was noticing that when I would travel, man, everything would come back to me emotionally like tenfold.
Yeah.
I'd be on the plane listening to Billy Joel or Weezer, and I mean, everything was vibrant, and I'm thinking about things that I should have done. It makes you reflect.
Yeah.
Denny's thoughts on that?
Yeah, I could see that. Probably because you're experiencing new things, so you're kind of like through a kid's eyes when you're experiencing life or seeing things for the first time. There's an excitement with it.
It's a great point.
So I think that's probably why traveling.
Looking through kids' eyes, I think you beam with emotions.
Well, yeah, as you become an adult, man, adults become depressing. Unfortunately,
They kind of do, and I do not want to become a depressing adult, and I don't feel like I
Absolutely.
will. I love life. I love planet Earth, but planet Earth can be a motherfucker.
It's a mean motor
It can
scooter.
kick you in your dick or your clit, depending on. Sorry, not to be so graphic.
It'll click your anatomy.
Yes, it can. If you're not expecting, as soon as you got plans in life, life goes, oh, you got plans, Beckett? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's how you make God laugh. Tell him you got plans.
Yeah. Exactly. I've had different levels of ups and downs of success in athletics and my career and finance and everything. But spiritually, I've always wanted to fill that. I mean, I was raised Christian, but I've never really had a strong spiritual pull. So I've wanted to do some form of spiritual, like a vision quest,
I get it, man.
Whether that's like an ayahuasca trip in South America, or there's some guru, or there's Burning Man, I don't know, some kind of where you like really like do a deep dive.
I think you're at a point in your life, and you're in your mid-30s?
36.
You
Yeah.
kind of feel like you've been to the puppet show, and you've seen the strings.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, there's got to be something more than the ego.
Right.
My career.
Yeah.
Being number one. Fucking nailing it. Getting stats. There's something more to that.
Right.
There is, because that mentality, as great as it is for your career, it does
Totally.
fuck up your soul.
And that's why when you're asking about psychic abilities, people say that MDMA, when it first came out in psychology sessions,
Ecstasy.
that they
Street name.
they were achieving sometimes, in not all cases, with the doctor's supervision, in an hour session or a half a day session, what it was going to take 3 to 5 years
Yeah.
of therapy to achieve, because what that chemical did was stripping the ego away.
Yeah, it's like a
Right.
truth serum almost.
Right.
So we've talked about the ego on the podcast.
Yeah.
Do you mind kind of explaining what you mean when you say ego?
Yeah, I think the ego is this vestibule. It's this barrier orb around you, if you will, of kind of your own protectant and biases and thoughts and beliefs and everything. You know that you
Yeah.
Very good, Beckett. Yes.
they have built around you. And I always say that it's idealistic to think of it this way, but there's something in a relationship or something in my business. I remind my board, I'm like, let's try and have a goal to make a decision with our egos removed. Am I CIO? Am I the vice president of business development? That doesn't really matter. I need to strip my ego and say what's best for the company, what moves the ball down the field. Remove my ego. If I have a conversation with the girl I'm dating, like what removes my ego and what really gets to the heart of why that really hurt me, rather than me have to tell my friends that my girl cheated on me or did something that I didn't like. What is the root of that outside of the ego? And I think when you get that's more the crux of the problem.
I mean, one of the biggest things I respect about producer Denny's, he hates compliments, so he's gonna be really uncomfortable right now.
I really do.
He does not like compliments. But I have learned a lot from producer Denny's because Denny's does not have an ego. Denny's is one of the best musicians I've ever met. He's a great producer. He don't have an ego. There's a lot to learn from people who don't have that.
Yeah.
I mean, so Denny's, not to put you on the spot, but what makes you not have your ego fuck up your personal life? Because I don't think your ego does mess up your personal life. It really doesn't.
No, I just look at it, and then I often just weigh, is it worth pursuing? Like, there's a lot of times where people will be wrong, and they'll be accusing me of being wrong, and I look at it, and I'm like, well, it's not. But they'll still not accept it. And so that doesn't really offend me because, I mean, clearly they're just not accepting it. So, I mean, why am I going to get mad about that?
So fucking Italian. You're wrong. Fuck you. You're wrong. I mean,
but at the same time, we also, every profession I've had, you still have to coexist around the people. So, I mean, if you could just let them go crazy, whatever, and just not take it personally.
You play the game of Big Brother, the
for
reality show
longevity.
Big Brother. If you don't know Big Brother, it really is a mixture of just dealing with people's personalities and telling them what they want to hear, just to get you through the next moment.
It pretty much is that. I mean,
is that life?
I mean, it kind of is. It depends on how you want to do it. Like you have to coexist with everybody. So.
You have to coexist with everybody, and I think you also have to have the ability to compromise and be flexible.
Yes.
That doesn't mean you have to be a doormat.
No, absolutely not.
Because
there's a fine line.
I mean, when it comes to matters of the heart, you're never going to get calm people. People always say, let's talk about political discussions and be calm. Well, fuck no. You're talking about legit, genuine matters of the heart where people are fundamentally, they're there. They're not going to change it. So you're trying to be peaceful on something that they're trying to protect that they think is so right.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can.
Yeah,
ever live in that world, Beckett.
Yeah, no, I think it's a continuum or a spectrum. Like I'm a deep pool. Like I can absorb a lot, but there's a certain point where it's a concrete bottom. Like where I can absorb a lot. I have a level of Denny's absorption and patience of things.
Yes,
but
and then I have a point where like, all right, that's a hard stop right there.
Well,
I think everybody has their own personal limits.
Yeah,
Vicky, what's your limit? You seem like a kind person, but you also seem like don't fuck with me.
Right.
I'll do a little fucking psychic thing on you.
I actually let people mess with me more than I will let them mess with somebody else.
I get that, but I also think you're kind of like me. You'll let people mess with you. You'll let people mess with you.
And then
you'll
watch
let them, and then you're in a bad mood,
Yeah.
and you're actually a real human, and
Yeah.
then you're like, no, fuck you.
Yeah, but it lasts.
I get
It
it.
lasts like no more than 5 minutes.
As soon as I get mad at somebody,
The guild.
10 minutes later, the Italian guild. Why did I say that? Why
person.
couldn't I have been more peaceful? Where's my enlightenment?
Yeah, it's too hard to get mad at people because I mean, somebody cuts you off. You're like,
Oh, that is so shallow.
that's such an impulsive anger.
That's the outer rim.
But then there's people that chase you down and then they throw something at your car. I mean, clearly they're taking it to the next limit.
And then you don't know if someone's in your face publicly, and they're yelling at you, Vicky. Vicky, you're the worst. And then they claim I have emotional issues. Now the public's gonna feel bad for them, and you're the villain.
Yeah, but this is actually kind of maybe a negative kind of byproduct of my ability is that like the worst human being could be right in front of me and everybody's like, oh, they're blah, blah, blah. And I'm able to see why they're such a horrible human being. And therefore, I'm able to give them sympathy.
Okay, but
and make excuses for them because I can see deeper. I can see why they are the way they are.
But I think you're a lot like me. Yes, the obvious obstacle in the way, you can be peaceful. It's the wolf in sheep's clothing that really gets you and makes you upset. I can tell by your emotions. I know you. I'm the same exact way. When somebody turns that knife on you, even if it's oh so passively aggressive, you're kind of annoyed.
Oh yeah. When I'm done, and when I'm done, I'm done. Like when I walk away from you, I am not coming back.
So I'm different on that end. I will give everybody redemption. Even if they're terrible and I know that they're not supposed to be in my life, I will wish them love and say, motherfucker, we are not in the same path. Don't contact me. I'm blocking you. But I'm not going to be mad about it. You know
No,
what
I'm
I
not
mean?
mad. I just walk away.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay,
And
that's
I'm
good.
just,
that's
that's
good.
when I decide. I'm like, this is not worth my energy. I'm just
Love
walking
it.
away.
Okay, I misinterpreted your answer.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying when I'm done, I'm done. I'm not worried
Gotcha.
about you anymore.
I love
That
it.
kind of thing.
Beckett, you're very quiet.
I actually have the opposite reaction as you, Jay Bird, in that I get mad that I waited so long to get angry. Because if I get angry, I don't walk away and be like, "Oh man, I shouldn't have been so angry or forceful or direct." I get more mad at myself. I'm like, "Why'd I wait to let it get to that point?" Is usually more the thing. Because usually, if it comes from me, it's past due. You know?
Yeah.
That's more my personality.
That's the only reason I try to address everything on the front end, man. I really hate that back end if it builds up.
It's the best way to do it. It's the way you're talking about, 100%.
It's so I've known Denny's for almost 10 years. It's the greatest lesson that I've learned from him. Deal with it up front, because I mean, dealing with it on the back end is just as uncomfortable.
And
probably
you have to
worse.
prolong
Usually
it.
worse.
It's worse.
Yeah.
Usually worse.
Whether it's a breakup, whether it's a firing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you know in your heart that's what it has to be, you got to deal with it and you got to fucking rip it off like a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Oh, there's times where you have to deliver bad news, and you're just standing there. You're just like, fuck. I don't want to do this.
so
I don't want to
Denny-
do this. And you just like shake it off and have to do it. It sucks.
I mean, Denny's is the least confrontational person
I hate
ever.
it. That's why I just try to do it all in the
And
front.
we always have to interview comedians, always, for the KVJ show. And we haven't...
That was your most infamous interview, wasn't it?
The Rob Schneider. And he was mad because we made him wait. And I'm not defending Rob Schneider because Rob Schneider's a prick. But what I'm saying is comedians don't like to wait. They have to do a show later on that night. They want to go back to their hotel and they want to sleep. And if we make them wait more than 15, 20 minutes, which happened today, right?
Yeah.
They get real pissy. And then Denny's, the peaceful dolphin of the show, has to go into the fucking lion's den and go, hey, guys.
Yeah.
And these comedians and their handlers, they are brutal. They are fucking brutal.
Agents and all that.
They will rip Denny's apart.
Totally.
And it's not Denny's fault.
Yeah. I've gotten better over the years at like smoothing over stuff.
The right temperament for the trade. Not everyone's got the right temperament for the trade.
Those moments do suck though.
I know they do.
What comedian you guys have on today?
Ari Spears.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And he's very good.
Yeah,
It just-
absolutely.
we made him wait.
And also-
he wasn't happy.
Well, weirdly, he got here an hour early too. So I mean, he was already waiting, so it exasperated it.
It's always so fucked, Beckett.
Yeah.
He the guy that he do some freestyle on the mic today?
He
Yeah,
does,
yeah,
he does, not on the air.
Oh, okay.
Beckett, what fucking show are you listening to?
Ari Spears, he's the guy that does the Jay-Z impression.
Okay,
Yes.
so clearly Beckett's listening to other morning shows in the morning.
No.
He wasn't on our air today. You were listening.
Oh, I did listen this morning.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
Yeah.
Because he was in town. He was doing interviews.
But yeah, doing all those sucks. And then there's no point to put your ego in that, because I mean, it's like you just take it and move on with your life.
Well, there's that one expression, would you rather be kind or would you rather be right?
Yeah.
It depends on the argument. If it's about, I don't want my kid to get a vaccine shot,
Yeah.
you're going to bow up and say, no, I want them to get that. Or I'm not, you're not
gonna
going
go with whatever your belief
You're not
is.
going to be kind or right on something. Like, matters of the heart, you got to be kind or right.
Right.
What are your thoughts on vaccination, Vicky?
I think they should be vaccinated.
Damn it. The email. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I got a kind of a weird email here. You guys ready for another email?
Yeah.
sure.
All right. We've got an imaginary friend email. Anybody here have an imaginary friend growing up? Vicky?
Yep.
What was their name and what were they about?
His name was Tabby Toey.
How old?
How old was Tabby Toey or how old was I?
Both.
Yeah.
Tabby Toey was with me for quite a while. I would say I got rid of him maybe 5 or 6.
We get a lot of emails from parents that have imaginary friends for their kids. And I mean, I had one, Don. I was about 6. He had slicked back hair. He was in his mid-40s, and he was always in the bathroom with me when I was pooping. I know it sounds creepy and that he was touching me, but Don just kind of talked to me. And I would talk to Don on the toilet. Hey, Don, how's it going? And my mom would say, who's Don? I'm like, oh, he's my friend. Well, what's Don look like? He's got slick back hair. He looks about your age, Mom. So he was a guy in his 40s with slick back hair. And I swear to you, Beckett, I can still see his face. Imaginary friend, do you have one?
No, I don't have one. I have the same pillow that I slept, but it didn't have a life of its own. It had a name.
True or false? Preteen years, Beckett definitely humped that pillow. Definitely. Denny's?
I did not have an imaginary friend.
Really?
Yeah. I had a brother, so it's kind of like.
I mean, I had
Yeah, you
brother
had a
and
whole
2 sisters.
full house and Dawn in the bathroom.
Well, some people think imaginary friends aren't really imaginary. They're people who have ability and they can actually see the spirit.
It's interesting you say that because Don was oh so vivid, Vicky. I can still see the son of a bitch's face. The creases in his face, I can still see Don.
I can see Tabby Toey.
So was Don a ghost as a kid?
He very well could be. And I've actually asked other psychics whether Tabby Toey was really a spirit or if I had totally made him up, and nobody can give me a really straight answer. Nobody's ever really tuned into Tabby Toey, but that's actually one of the answers I want more than any, is to know if he was really a spirit.
So that might have been your first round, kind of like me.
Yeah.
Because
All
they
right.
say when kids, they are more likely to
Until the age of 7.
identify with the spirit world.
So you're saying from age born to age 7, they
Yeah,
can see
that's-
things that other people can't.
Generally speaking, yes.
We were just talking about that the other day. At age 8, you start to become a little adult. You start to have your little opinions. You're like, yeah, fuck you, Mom.
Yeah. It's funny.
But here's the email about imaginary friends. I'd love to get all of our opinions on this. Amanda Myers from Fort Lauderdale says, my son has an imaginary friend named Jonathan. They do everything together. Then out of the blue, Jonathan started to tell my son to hurt people. My son has hit kids at school for no reason. Then when he is asked about why he did it, he says, Jonathan told me to do it. My son also threw a rock through our neighbor's window. When we asked him why did he do that, he said, the same thing. Jonathan made me do it. We have gone to therapy, but that has seemed to only escalate the bad behavior. My son is only 8 going on 9, and my husband and I are not violent people. We have no idea why he's acting this way. Has any other parent gone through this? At first, I thought his imaginary friend was cute. Not so much anymore. We as a family are scared. Amanda Myers from Fort Lauderdale.
There could be multiple things that are going on there. There's an episode of A Haunting that talks about a child who has an imaginary friend, and it kind of escalates from there. So absolutely, the child could be interacting with a spirit that's telling them to do those things.
So that's a real thing. You're telling me that there could be kids out there right now getting whispers from ghosts and spirits saying, kick her in the knee.
Right. They could, depending on where they live. Now, another thing could be happening. If we have some type of trauma or some kind of situation that we're trying to separate ourselves from, you kind of create this other ego, this other person. And that other person starts taking responsibility for the actions you choose. Now, there's also another famous situation. It's actually in the Keys, the doll Robert. If you've ever heard about that doll.
Robert the doll. Yeah.
Right. The owner, when he was younger, he always used to blame Robert. And he grew up, he still had the doll, and he got married. The wife could not stand the doll. So go put it in the attic. I don't want to see this doll. And Robert used to move positions. He ended up in a museum, and Robert supposedly still moves around. So in that case, the kid was saying, oh, the doll told me, and very well could have been occupied by a spirit that was manipulating him as a child. So it's possible. It's not, I wouldn't put that on the scale, on a scale of 1 to 10, do I think it's a spirit? Yeah, it's about a 3.
Okay,
2 or
but
3.
okay, you got a kid that's 6, 7 years old, and you don't teach that kid to be violent. You actually are, and we don't know.
Yeah, but they go to school, so they're learning.
But
But
if you have a strong foundation at home, I disagree on the whole thing where a kid's going to be so violent at school where he sees something and he becomes violent. I think that does come with the home and the parent training, unless there is a spiritual thing going on there.
Or people act out, they react violently out of frustration. So there might be something going on that the child can't control, and it's manifesting itself in these behaviors.
Are you saying this could be DNA?
Not necessarily that. It could be situational. Not that it's
Okay, but
genetic.
let me ask you this though. Let's say you do have a kid you raise in a peaceful home. You're teaching this kid to do the right thing. Then all of a sudden they're lashing out, being violent, and they're telling you their imaginary friends telling them to do that. What would be your advice?
Well, I'm a paranormal investigator, so of course I'm going to go that route, just try to see if I can get any evidence, and then I'm going to take them to a professional to see what's going on.
I mean, I kind of feel like always go to a doctor, right?
Totally.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
I feel like we have to say that if we're on
every
the air.
time.
Yeah,
though.
anyways.
I mean, well, there's
Well, most people aren't paranormal investigators, so they're not going to eliminate that possibility.
But
first.
there is this new movement. It's not a majority, but I'm seeing it trickle down. Fuck the medical, community. I'm gonna trust the medical community.
Totally.
I'm gonna trust them. I'm gonna trust law enforcement if collectively they're giving a statement. I don't think all of that is a conspiracy. Do you?
No, I don't. And I think that it's healthy to question things and
Yeah.
to be a
Of
skeptic.
course.
That's healthy. And I think that where I fall in terms of social norms and laws is that if you don't hurt anyone else, whatever makes you happy should be fine.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Right?
If you want to lick a toad,
100%.
no, you know what? We can't speak for the toad. If you want to lick the fence, lick the fence.
Yeah, if you want to do whatever you want, so that's fine. But when you start negatively affecting other people, whether their health or their emotions or their physical well-being, mental well-being, that's where you gotta draw the line. And the other thing that I land is that it's one thing if there's like this new medical procedure that's a small group of scientists at Harvard Med School or Johns Hopkins that are doing. It's another thing when science has said this is a 99.9% thing. That's and you're affecting other kids who aren't old enough to be vaccinated, so my baby can die because you refuse to do it. When I went to school, I had to have my little thing checked. Like you're going.
What's your little thing? Beckett balls?
Well, that still happens.
This little blue
Hashtag Beckett balls.
But you had to have the TV shot. You had to have those things
Yeah.
stamped on your card, your little card thing. But that's just where I fall on. I think that you need, and if it's an overwhelming majority of scientists, what we would go back to ignorance. What really grinds my gears is when someone tries to be an expert or something they're not an expert about, where 4 people start, having this debate about global warming when they have never read a book
Yeah.
or done any studies ever on global warming. Listen to the 99% of experts, whether that's in vaccines and healthcare or whatever. To me, that's where I think it's the right way to go about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Vicky.
But I think also you have to realize children, they go through phases. And
Yeah,
this
they
may
do.
not be a permanent phase. This may be a temporary one. It's just that's how it's manifesting. And also, you look at the old nature versus nurture. And I've said this before on the show. I think you are who you are. My siblings, there's 3 of us. We are 3 completely different people. In fact, a lot of people wonder if I'm even related to the other 2 because we're so different. We share the same genetics in the same environment.
But you love them, right? Oh my God. Do I hear a laugh from the audience? Okay. All right. If you don't fundamentally agree with your brothers and sisters, do you still, I mean, even if you have on a ego level hatred for them, on a deeper level, do you have love for your siblings?
I don't feel a connection to my siblings.
You didn't answer my question.
Because
You are a politician.
no
because
connection.
because of the lack of connection, I cannot answer that with an affirmative.
So okay.
You got to realize there's a big gap between us. So I was basically almost raised as an only child. And any of my experiences with my siblings are all negative. There was never any positive interaction. I was the one that was tortured. I was the one that was whatever. So I really did not have positive experiences. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say something that I don't feel. And I don't feel like I feel more of a connection with my friends.
So may I ask you this question?
Sure.
Do you love your siblings?
No,
Wow. Okay.
No.
Really?
I don't.
Wow. Okay.
I think
That would. It's almost like asking me if I love a stranger, because that's pretty much what they are to me as strangers.
Just out of curiosity, what's the age difference between your siblings?
Well, there's 11 years between me and my sister, and there's 7 between me and my brother.
Are they close?
No.
So they have issues with each other
Yes.
too.
Yes. None of us have a connection with, and that's one of the things I'm most proud of. My 3 children love each other.
That I agree. That is great.
Yeah.
But because I think your situation is a situation a lot of people struggle with, and I don't mean to keep going
No,
in
that's
on this,
fine.
but this is the radio.
I'll be the one get on the mail next week.
This is the radio guy in me. I want to continue to delve into this. Do you think? Okay, I should rephrase this. Why do you think you are not close with your brothers and sisters, your siblings?
I did not.
If you had to break it down, give me 2 reasons why you say you don't love them.
We never
Why
did
would you
anything
not?
together.
Okay.
We never did anything together. Like I said, there's so many pictures of me in the photo album, the people across the street, because that's where I spent my time, playing with the kid that lived over there. They played with me. There was too much of an age difference. When we took family vacations to a certain point, but I don't remember those. I have no conscious memories of those. And by the time, like, when I got old enough to remember the vacations, they were old enough to stay home and not have to go on them. So again, it was just me, mom, and dad. So
Okay, let me ask you this, and we will move on because this is our Oprah moment.
because you're gonna start charging me for the session.
This is our Oprah moment. Okay, do you think it's possible that you are not close with your siblings because there's been a lot of miscommunication, and if you were forced to be stuck in an elevator for an hour and a half, the elevator's not moving, and you guys, all 3 of you, had to work out your issues, do you think you could work them out if you guys actually understood each other?
2 of us could.
Okay, well, there's
2 of us
progress,
could.
Denny's.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah,
Meatloaf
2
said
of
it.
us could. It's the other one that even my mom herself at one point just got up from that person's house and said, "We are wasting our time. They are mentally ill," and my mother walked out. So you can't argue with someone who's mentally ill.
Beckett, I see you hanging on every word.
Yeah.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have one blood brother, but I joke around my family puts the fun dysfunctional because they're both on the 3rd. Everything was fine. There wasn't any bad breakups, but we have a family bush, not a family tree.
I mean, I hate to break it to everybody, but we're all kind of fucking dysfunctional.
Totally.
All of us are dysfunctional. No matter how rich or poor you are, you've got some dysfunction going on in
yeah.
your life.
Yeah.
Okay, so you hear Vicky talk about that, and the only reason why I'm prolonging this is because we do get a lot of emails about this stuff. When you hear her as an outsider listening in, do you think it's miscommunication, or do you think they are just people that do not want to talk to each other?
I think it's a mix of both.
I agree.
Miscommunication is usually the breakdown of
Everything. It fucks everything up, man. It does.
Everything.
It does.
I actually, ironically, just yesterday I watched a show by Van Jones, the African American guy, is really smart, that does political stuff on CNN. He's got a new show called Redemption, or The Road to Redemption.
Is that Tom Jones' brother?
I'm not sure.
I'm just kidding. That is for the old audience out there.
What I thought was
Old
pretty
rockers.
what I thought was pretty powerful is he's putting victims in front of their offenders years later. The episode I watched, he put a guy that was getting ready to get out of prison 25, 30 years after the guy killed the lady's mom.
So this guy
Stabbed her.
was getting out of prison, and he definitely killed her.
100%.
Okay,
Pled guilty.
Gotcha. All right.
Pled guilty, and this was the first interaction the daughter had with the offender. And it was powerful. I don't want to. I always spoiler alert things.
I mean, nobody gives a shit about that. So go ahead and spoil
but
it.
it was really powerful. I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of pre-vetting. I'm sure there's some. Oh wow, that's loud.
So I heard there was rains a coming.
And
Yeah.
this is the quirks.
Chewy doesn't like it.
This is the quirks of my studio here.
I
And
like
when
it.
thunder hits out, Chewy does not like bad weather.
Oh, it made me jump.
I like it.
Fucking love that dog.
I
All right,
like it.
Go on.
But that's it. I mean, I thought it was really powerful. I mean, I maybe in other episodes it goes horribly wrong, but in that one there was actually a hug at the end of the talk, and he told the daughter things she didn't know about. The mom was buying meth from him, and there was a situation that snowballed, went out of she never knew any of this, and then the end of it, they actually now work together, going into prisons and actually talking to prisoners and actually helping facilitate when there's an opportunity there, maybe the door's open or ajar just a little bit for some reconciliation or some kind of anything there.
Okay, well, here's a question for you, Denny's.
All right, lay it on me.
Because there's been a lot of talk of this. There was a case a couple weeks ago where a girl got murdered, and they found the killer within a couple days, and the family, their press statement was, "We're praying for the killer. We're praying for him." Okay, Denny's.
Mm-hmm.
Someone murders Jen. The guy's in jail. Are you praying for that guy, or do you wish the worst?
It's so hard. Yeah.
So I guess
you wish the worst on him.
Do you wish the worst? Because there's this thing where if you wish the worst on somebody, your soul's conflicted, and that darkness brings you down. See what I'm saying?
Well, so if
the
you-
hatred of it.
Yeah, if you get consumed by the hate or sucked up in the revenge of everything, like if your goal is to kill him when he gets out or whatever it be, all that is going to be bad. I mean, there's nothing that's going to make that right. You're going to hate the guy. But I think over time, I think the hate subsides.
Okay, so somebody murders Jen tomorrow.
Yeah, it'd be rough.
Okay, in 10 years, what's your thoughts? I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get some Oprah moments here.
Yeah.
It was more Diddy saying it would be rough.
Dennis comes back with, "It'd be rough.
That'd be a shitty day.
It'd be so tough.
It'd be a shitty day. Kevin emailed me. I got to do some prep."
Yeah, no, that'd be awful. I think there's no way. I mean, good 5 years, you probably hate the person.
But do you let that hatred take you down for the rest of your life? Because
No.
some people do.
So I think you can still hate somebody and not be consumed by hate and keep hating on them. I think you can still dislike somebody and I mean, you're just, there's nothing you're going to do.
I totally agree. We are living in the time where everyone wants to say, if you hate something, you're automatically, that's all you're consumed with is hate.
Yeah.
You can hate somebody who's murdered your loved one and still go on and be a spiritual person.
Yeah.
And do spiritual things and not consume your life.
Yeah.
But you're like, fuck you. You murdered my loved one. I'm not forgiving you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think for some people, they might have to forgive to move on.
Because of the anger. It's so great.
Whatever it be
Yeah.
for them.
It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
I get it. I totally, and I think it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
But for you, I'm interested.
I don't think I need it.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. I'm interested in hearing you, because you are the peaceful person of the podcast.
Yeah.
And that's the most horrendous, horrific thing someone could do.
Yeah, that would definitely set me into a despair.
But how bad?
See, I mean, you would have to get out of it, because otherwise you get lost in it. I think there's nothing you're gonna do that's gonna change the events. Unfortunately, it's gonna take like 5 years to get over it, man. To where you can start functioning back.
Oh, he's got 5 years. He knows
I
exactly
kind of
how
agree,
long.
though. I think when it comes to
5 years to where you can start functioning again, where it's not consuming you.
when it comes to matters of the heart, where you are so emotionally invested, now, I'm not talking about 2 months into a relationship or even 8. I'm just saying something where you are full gorilla, you've given your heart, and you've emotionally doubled down on it. I agree with Denny's. It takes about 5 years to finally be so okay with everything where it doesn't bother you anymore.
You're still scarred, but
You're scarred and you're wiser and you're a little bit more, you got walls, But I mean, I don't know. I think some people will take 3 years, but I think 5 years is kind of
You try not to speed up the process.
for I'm talking about. I mean, major shit in your life.
Major trauma.
What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you, Beckett, in your life? If you had to zone it in and say, this was the toughest, most heart-wrenching period of my lifetime.
Well, just because it's recent. and
Vicky, you're next.
Just because it was recent, I lost my dog, which, may not sound as bad as some things could be.
Sounds pretty bad, brother.
But I've lost grandparents I was very close with. I haven't lost yet anyone that's in my immediate family that was really close to me. But the dog was in my life every single day, every single day. So that was tough. In terms of other things, I had two friends in middle school. You remember in Boca Raton, they had the Boca Ria Road accident, that the Schlossberg family and all that down in Boca?
No.
So that was tragic because I was in 8th grade and like 2-3 of my friends I sat next to all died in a car
That's
accident.
rough, man.
So
That's
they had the trauma counselors into the middle school in Boca Middle and everything like that. So that was tough. But just because it's top of mind, it was recent and it was something that a living being that was in my life every day. The dog's probably the toughest.
Okay, Vicky, what do you got?
My mom's death.
Yeah, I get
Definitely. That's I spoke to her every single day of my life.
it. I mean, for me, definitely my mom. I mean, Aunt Ann was a close second. Aunt Ann hasn't even been dead for 2 weeks.
I know, it's crazy.
It is very crazy. And it happened so quick. And I get that a lot of people aren't close with their aunts or their uncles or their grandparents even. But I don't think that matters. I mean, if you're just close with somebody. I mean, Ann was my creative partner. Whether she knew that or not. I mean, I'm going through my notes. I was going through my notes yesterday. And I've got 3 bits I was working on with Ann. And it makes you, it hits you over the head like a sledgehammer. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to be depressing, but this podcast is, it's not a comedy podcast.
It sits on the fence of depressing.
Yeah, it sits on the press.
You can go either way.
So some would say it crosses the line.
Yeah.
But we do talk about death here. And I think it's healthy to talk about, why the fuck aren't people talking about death? We're all afraid of it.
Yeah.
We're all acting like it's not there.
It's happening to all of us.
It's there. It is there. Let's talk about it a little bit. Let's at least be honest about it. Mm-hmm. And looking back, with my Aunt Ann and even my mom and being in a public situation, looking back and learning what I got out of everything was just enjoy every single fucking moment. And it's so cliche.
Yeah.
It's so cliche.
It's so hard to do.
Nobody will do it until something horrific or life-altering happens. But just take it from me. You got to hit pause and just kind of look at it.
It's like when you get sick and you're like, I will never get sick again because you just feel so awful. And then you start getting healthy and you're like, man, I can't believe I feel like this,
I'll never drink again, Denny's.
Then 2 weeks later, you
Yeah.
drop something and you're eating it off the floor.
I'll never drink again. And Beckett's doing Goldschlager shots.
That's so true.
Yeah, drinking's one of those ones.
We are running a little late with the podcast.
Yes,
Give you a
indeed.
little extra content. I do want to address, some people are saying, I see Denny's and Jaybird doing videos on Facebook and on YouTube. We're just trying to give people extra content. If it's just me and Denny's, that's going to be called The Bird's Nest.
Yep.
And that's just us,
That kind of was just born from us doing test runs.
just kind of talking and getting weird. We're both really tired at that point. And then obviously the bread and butter is the Weird and Whatever podcast. And I just want to extend the invitation to you, Beckett, and to you, Vicky, and of course you, Denny's and Lindsley. You guys are always welcome to just kind of hit a button, go live.
In the bird's nest?
In the Bird's Nest. If a hot girl breaks up with you, Beckett, if that does happen and you are reeling,
In those rare occasions.
you go, Bird, I just got to get some shit off my chest. Come on over. We're gonna hit play. We go live.
Just put her on blast.
This is our therapy session,
I
baby.
love it.
Vicky, anything you want to add on?
I want to do a plug, and I was just
Plug
thinking, you just sitting there inviting me. Maybe I do need to come and use your equipment. I am going to be the guest on a paranormal podcast.
Okay.
Yes.
Somebody making it happen. Making us weird whenever motherfuckers looking good.
Don't forget about us.
It's called the Paranormality Files, and it's out of the UK.
That was very smooth. The paranormal.
It's from across the pond, eh?
And it's actually
We'll put that back
on, let's see, paramaniaradio.com, and I'll have things posted on Facebook.
Vicky, we're live. No, I'm just kidding.
It's May 11th from 4 to 6.
I love
very
it.
cool.
And we are going to have a big time. So we're going to hit stop on this video right now, and we have a big old meeting about our new producer and our next appearance. We're finally going to do a Weird Whenever appearance.
Awesome.
I'm going to talk with Beckett, Vicky, and Denny's, and Lindsley.
You.
And we want to meet you, the people who are supporting our podcast. Our numbers are up, y'all. 019's been very good for us. So let's do a little broadcast live somewhere.
Nice. Should we do a chant too?
Denny's, lead the chant.
2019. 2019. 2019. 2019.
All right, Denny's, play us out.
What's that sound? It's aliens and they're living in your town. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you scared of aliens? Well, you should be. Because aliens want to probe around in your booty. Aliens are here to take our resources, steal our water and eat all of our horses. Aliens are nothing like the movie E.T. The movie Independence Day is how it will be. To all the victims who have been kidnapped, Snack Pack dedicates this track. What was that? What? What's that sound? It's aliens and they're living in your town. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town.